We begin in Christchurch, where a service to mark the 5th anniversary of the shallow, sharp 6.3 earthquake that struck on this day in 2011 was held this afternoon. More than 1,000 people gathered at the city's Botanic Gardens to remember the 185 lives that were lost. 115 people perished in the CTV building, 18 died in the Pine Gould building, and 8 lives were lost in a bus on Colombo Street hit by falling masonry. Another 40 people died in other places throughout the city, and more than 6,000 people were treated for injuries. Tonight, the voices of people who came to the service today. Some were there to support the city they love so much, but most were there because 5 years ago today their lives changed in profound and terrible ways. Like Gail, who told me she was working inside the AMI building in Latimer Square when the earthquake struck.
The noise, the computers flying everywhere, the screaming, the blood. It was just, it's like walking into a zone, like a war zone.
5 years is not long enough to get that out of your system, is it?
No, not really.
So you left Christchurch? You left Christchurch, did you?
I left Christchurch and went to the other side of the world. So, and I come home with my baby and my partner.
Your baby is beautiful.
Thank you.
And isn't she an apt little symbol for the day, a sense of a new Christchurch and a future after the earthquake and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah.
Did you come home to be here for today, or was it just a coincidence?
It was just a coincidence that we were here for the memorial, and then Mum was like, let's go and have a look today. So, yeah.
You reckon you can handle it?
Yeah. It's just
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah. Sort of like you say, you know, you remember these things when you come out, like the smell of the dust and everything when you get out of the building. So, and it is like, you know, you see it on TV and those movies and you think, yeah, that's exactly it. You know, people are helping each other and trying to, you know, get everybody out of town and stuff. So everybody pulled together. It was good to see on the day.
And they still do now.
Yeah,
It's been one of the defining things of the city for me, the way people have been so kind and committed and caring about each other.
Yeah, so it's good. It's good to come home and see that still happening.
There was Gail. They're complete strangers, but Nick was working not far from Gail, a very short distance away, also in Latimer Square, just across the road from the CTV building there, of course, when the quake hit. He told me why he'd come to today's memorial service.
5 years has passed. I came to the first 2 services and I thought it was time to maybe try and let go, but I think enough time's passed now. But with these recent earthquakes that have happened this year, it kind of brings it all back, and it's even more prescient to be here this morning.
Did you lose anyone or anything in the February quake 5 years ago today?
Friends of mine did. My 2 children had very narrow escapes, and I myself had a pretty close shave in a building off Latimer Square, so it was quite horrendous.
It's funny, isn't it? You think, theoretically, 5 years is enough time to be able to cope with it, but people still feel the weight incredibly heavily, don't they?
They do. I mean, the poor people whose insurance claims are still open-ended, that's awful. But people who've lost somebody, I mean, I don't think time will ever heal that.
What are you hoping for today, Nick?
I think it's just a time of quiet reflection. It's a bit like going to church. You hopefully feel a bit better when you come out the other end. And but it's a mark of respect for the people who died, and also all of the people who gave so much on that day at that time.
Nick, who was in Latimer Square 5 years ago today. Summer Oliver was working as an administrator for the Perpetual Trust on the first floor of the PGC building when the quake hit. She was pinned beneath a concrete beam for 4 hours as rescuers worked desperately to free her. Ms. Oliver lost 10 workmates, whilst 2 had both legs amputated.
I was injured in the PGC building.
And how's the recovery been?
Pretty tough, yeah. I was crushed under a beam, so just been a long recovery, healing and learning to walk again, and lots of physio operation, and yeah, here we are 5 years on.
Does it feel like 5 years?
Not really. I can still remember quite a lot as if it was yesterday. Yeah.
And what did the recent earthquake, what was the psychological impact of that upon you? Were you able to cope with it?
I felt all right, but actually it was everyone around me that seemed to be struggling the most, and then it kind of hit me again. I mean, on the day I was stuck in a building and couldn't see anything, so seemed to affect a lot of my friends and family more. Just remembering all the chaos and all the craziness and the sirens and
What are you hoping for today?
I don't really know what to expect today. Just, remember and catch up with people I used to work with and friends and family and just be together.
Summer, who was trapped in the rubble of the Pine Gould building on this day 5 years ago. Anita's husband Andrew worked at the CTV building, in the CTV building for CTV, one of 115 people who lost their lives in a structure the Royal Commission later described as so deficient it should never have been built. Anita left Christchurch after the quakes but came back for the memorial today.
A little bit shaky. I haven't been back I've come back a year ago now, but the earthquakes the other day sort of made me feel a bit like I didn't want to come back today, but it's a big day, so got to be here.
Did you leave because it was too sad to be here, or did you leave to start your life again?
Both. Pretty much both. It's not somewhere I wanted to be anymore, but there's other things out there, other horizons to find, so.
Just because of the reminders?
Pretty much, reminders and, just stress. Yeah.
So your husband was an editor and cameraman for CTV and he was in the building when it collapsed?
Yeah, he was, but we were, it's a sad day.
It's a really sad day. It's funny because people now are talking about the future and the possibility that hangs over Christchurch.
Huge.
It's huge. I mean, they're going to make an amazing city here, but today feels heavy with the past, doesn't it?
It does at the moment, but I think today could be the turning point where everyone it's 5 years on now and everyone it's time to move forward for a lot of people. I think I have never been to one of these memorial services. I've never been able to bring myself to come to one, so I think this is my time to move on and, just carry on.
What was your husband's name?
Andrew Bishop.
I've heard of Andrew. I think everyone in the business has heard of Andrew.
Everybody knows Andrew. He was a good guy. Had some lovely people in his life.
We're talking to the people who were at the memorial service today on Checkpoint. The quake changed so many lives forever, of course. Karen Dodd was forced to leave her employment after the quake.
Work in a building because it's just too terrifying. I've got to see sunlight. So it's affected me that way.
Where were you on this day 5 years ago?
St George Hospital, working in the laundry.
And what happened?
Oh my gosh, we couldn't get out. We were stuck inside and all the trolleys moved and all the linen moved and we all freaked. It was horrible. We couldn't get out. There's only 2 doors in and out and they're just normal doors. And the chapel fell on one door and the other door, the linen trolleys covered it. So we were stuck in there for a while.
And 5 years on, you still can't work inside?
No, so I went to do motel work, not in buildings. I can't work in tall buildings. And I'm a room attendant by trade and I can't go back to hotels or anything. It's too scary.
We'll have more of the Voices of Christchurch later in the programme. The Governor-General, Sir Jerry Mataparai, was among the speakers at today's service, along with current Mayor Leanne Dalzell. All 185 names of those who died were read out and a minute's silence was observed at 12:51, throughout the city, in fact. As he arrived, the Prime Minister, John Key, told me what the 5th anniversary means to him.
It's always going to be a moment of reflection, and I mean 5 years is a long time, but if you've gone through the pain and suffering that some people have gone through, losing loved ones, losing their business, losing their home, it's still quite raw, I think. On the other side of the coin, it's a sort of moment of optimism as people look forward, and they can see the progress sort of everywhere. You can see the buildings, you can see lots of things springing up. And I mean, I gave a speech down here last week, actually, the week before last. That was just a function. And I just said, look, it's good momentum happening in Christchurch now, things are looking a lot better. And the crowd, who were all Cantabrians, broke into spontaneous applause. So I think there is a sort of feeling that we're getting there, but not to take away from the many issues.